Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to sift through the latest research, the newest insights, and bring you the most vital takeaways, those unexpected discoveries. Today, we're diving deep into a really critical subject, the future of professions. Our mission, like always, is to give you that shortcut, to get you well informed on this rapidly shifting landscape, pulling out the core insights, those aha moments, straight from the material we've been given.
And it's definitely a deep dive that couldn't be more timely. I mean, the world of work, it's undergoing this seismic shift. It's driven by forces we'll get into today. Understanding these changes, well, it's not just professional curiosity, is it? It's really about navigating your own career path and maybe helping societies figure out how to adapt.
Absolutely. So with all this change brewing, if we look at what's emerging from the sources we have, what kinds of new roles are actually starting to define this new landscape? Are we talking totally new jobs or maybe existing ones just changing shape?
Well, what's really striking from our sources is how the future isn't just about technology in isolation. It's more about how technology is reshaping, well, pretty much every profession. So yeah, you see the rise of AI specialists, software developers, sure, but it's also about the integration of AI into fields you might not immediately think of. There's definitely a clear dominance of tech fields: AI, software, data analysis, and renewable energy is huge too, becoming incredibly data intensive actually. It really points to a deeper systemic shift, not just a few new job titles popping up here and there.
That's a really key distinction. So it's not only about building the tech, but also grasping its implications, its applications right across the board. And speaking of those implications, what else did our sources flag? Those jobs that kind of blend tech with more human concerns. I'm thinking about things like AI ethics or maybe climate change consultancy. Did those get much attention?
Oh, they absolutely did, yeah. Our research points pretty strongly to the emergence of roles like AI ethics, which has to grapple with all the societal fallout of AI, right?
Yeah.
And climate change consultancy, too. That one marries the scientific understanding with strategic advice for businesses and policy. These roles, they need this really unique mix of tech know-how and, well, human-centric thinking. And beyond those, we're also seeing robotics engineering gaining serious ground. Plus, a big boost in health sectors, particularly elderly care, advanced medical tech, that's largely driven by demographics like the aging population globally.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It feels like these emerging professions aren't just appearing out of nowhere then.
Exactly. They're determined by this dynamic interplay of a few core things. Technology advancing, sure, but also shifting societal needs, environmental factors, even global economic policies. It's this really complex intersection that's creating the new opportunities and, redefining the old ones.
Okay, building on that intersection then. The sources don't just point to new roles coming up. They paint a picture of a work landscape that's being, well, fundamentally reshaped. What are those really big shifts technology is driving? And maybe just as important, what kinds of jobs might be, well, changing fundamentally or even heading towards the exit?
Yeah, the material really stresses that machines are increasingly taking over tasks, lots of tasks. And
Yeah.
this has that dual effect we touched on. You get the rise of new roles like the AI specialist, but also the, inevitable decline or transformation of others. I think the real insight here is that any task, any task you can break down into a predictable set of rules, that's likely right for automation. Doesn't matter if it's on a factory floor or behind a desk.
Right, so it's maybe less about an entire job just vanishing overnight and more about the specific task within a job being, well, handed over to an algorithm, like data entry maybe, or parts of call center work, those repetitive rule-based things.
That's exactly it. And the idea is that frees up humans for more complex stuff, creative problem solving, that kind of thing. Our sources also really emphasize another huge shift, the rise of remote work, which, truly allows companies now to tap into global talent pools. It breaks down geography, redefines the whole office structure.
It really does make you think, okay, what are we actually going to do with all that freed up human capacity? So, okay, what does this all mean for you listening right now? What are those absolute non-negotiable skills we'll need to thrive in this evolving environment, especially if machines are handling more routine work?
The source is very clear on this. While technical skills are, of course, important, it's the crucial human-centric skills that are going to become truly indispensable. And when we say human-centric skills, we mean those uniquely human abilities, right? Critical thinking, analyzing complex problems, making reasoned judgments, effective communication, which includes empathy, persuasion, creative thinking, coming up with novel solutions, and emotional intelligence, understanding and managing your own emotions and those of others. These are all areas where machines, frankly, just fall short.
Yeah, and it's really compelling, isn't it, how those uniquely human strengths, empathy, original ideas, they become even more valuable when machines take over the repetitive stuff. Does the source material also touch on how we might, actually foster these qualities? Especially in a world that often seems to reward pure technical skill.
It does, yeah. By stressing the absolute importance of digital literacy, first off, just being comfortable and adaptable with new tech as it constantly changes. But underpinning all of this is the need for lifelong learning. That openness to continuous development, it isn't just a nice to have anymore. It's framed as a fundamental necessity.
Yeah.
Individuals who are genuinely open to continuous learning, to self-improvement, they'll have a significant advantage as this landscape keeps shifting.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit then. How are these shifts likely to affect you as an individual? And maybe on a larger scale, how should entire societies prepare for what's coming? It really sounds like personal flexibility is going to be absolutely vital.
It seems so. Our research indicates that yes, as an individual, you will need to be more flexible, more versatile, and really engage in constant self-renewal. Job descriptions. They're likely to become much more interdisciplinary. They'll demand a blend of that technical ability and those crucial social skills.
So success isn't just going to hang on your academic credentials, right? But more on your ability to communicate well, work with others smoothly, show leadership, apply creativity. It sounds like a much broader definition of being qualified.
Agreed. And then, on that societal level, the sources really emphasize the critical need to promote tech literacy across all demographics, and crucially, to bridge that digital divide, making sure everyone has access, everyone understands basic digital tools that's seen as paramount.
And that sounds like it needs a really coordinated effort, doesn't it? I mean, our sources highlight things like government-backed retraining programs and also strong collaborations, partnerships between universities, businesses, the public sector. Plus, fostering entrepreneurship and innovation is mentioned too as a key growth engine.
Absolutely. What's fascinating here is that dual demand you see emerging. Individuals, they have embraced lifelong learning, adapt. But societies? They need to adopt a really holistic approach. It means considering not just the tech infrastructure, but also the social and cultural transformation needed to truly prepare for these shifts.
It's also interesting to think about how different parts of the world might be tackling this, and crucially, how we make sure these future opportunities are actually accessible to everyone. There must be differences depending on, say, a country's development level.
Oh, for sure. Our sources definitely highlight that. Developed countries, they often lead with the big high-tech investments, AI, space research, biotech, and that shapes their education and economic priorities. Meanwhile, developing nations might be more focused on just keeping pace with digitalization, establishing that fundamental tech infrastructure first. And the sources also note how cultural structures, existing economic priorities, they can really influence career preferences and pathways within different countries.
So yeah, definitely not a one-size-fits-all path forward. And when we talk about making sure these opportunities are accessible to everyone, the sources really hammer home the need for equal educational opportunities for everyone, regardless of gender, ethnicity, socioeconomic background.
That's absolutely fundamental. And our research also discusses the importance of policies that actively support diversity in the workplace. And, maybe more subtly, challenging those societal biases like the old idea that tech fields are just for men, which leads to underrepresentation. And, importantly, it calls for really supporting the inclusion of disabled individuals in the workforce too, ensuring full participation, equal access.
That makes complete sense. Achieving genuine equality isn't just about having the right laws on the books, is it?
Exactly. It requires a much deeper societal transformation, a heightened awareness, really, to make sure everyone from all backgrounds, all abilities, can actually realize their full potential in a fair work environment.
Okay, so finally, let's talk about the foundation, the bedrock that prepares us all for this future, our education system. What are the crucial responsibilities it faces in getting you, the listener, ready for what's coming down the line?
Well, the sources really emphasize that education needs to become far more dynamic, more applied, more multidisciplinary, which basically means a significant shift away from traditional rote memorization.
Right. So instead of just learning facts off by heart, the focus needs to be squarely on problem solving, critical thinking, maybe project-based learning. That sounds much more like preparing people for actual real-world challenges, not just exams.
It does. And getting early exposure to technology, to digital skills, is seen as absolutely crucial. The material also advocates for much stronger collaboration between educational institutions and the business world, making sure curricula gets updated rapidly to meet what sectors actually need. And significantly, the sources advocate for a balanced approach. valuing what's known as STEAM. That's science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics fields equally. That inclusion of arts is really key here. It emphasizes that creativity, design thinking, humanistic understanding, they're just as vital for future innovation as the technical skills.
Yeah, ultimately, to cultivate individuals who are genuinely suited for these future professions, the education system itself must be flexible, innovative, and truly inclusive. It's seen as the critical foundation for society to adapt to these really profound changes. Wow, what an insightful deep dive that was into the future of professions. We've really covered a lot of ground, from those new roles emerging in tech and human-centric fields to the huge impact of automation, the skills that are becoming indispensable for tomorrow, and how both societies and our education systems really need to adapt. So thank you for joining us on this journey through the source material today.
And maybe just one final thought for you to consider as you reflect on all this. In a world that's constantly changing, perhaps the true measure of our readiness for these future professions isn't just about what we know right now, but maybe it's about how quickly and how eagerly we embrace the unknown and how willing we are to redefine what it even means to learn.
That's a powerful thought to leave with. Until next time on the deep dive, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.